All right, hey everybody, and welcome to the Crown Council live broadcast. I am Stuart Anderson. This is our weekly broadcast where we connect with the community of the Crown Council, where we talk to doctors, resource partners, team members, and check in with everything that is happening inside the Crown Council community, because this is a community where we hope you feel like you never practice alone, where there are mentors, mastermind groups, and people who are here to help you on your journey to build a culture of success. I'm Stuart Anderson. In reality, I'm traveling today. So today we are traveling to Rodeo Dental. They have a big annual meeting that we are part of planning and helping to be a part of. So when you're watching this, I'm actually traveling to Texas to be with Rodeo Dental and their practices. So this is a live session here of the live stream, or I mean a recorded session of the live stream. We're grateful that you join us. I have just a few housekeeping items. I'm going to share my screen real quick. What you're looking at is the Crown Council website. And part of the Crown Council website that I want to focus on is the My Directory part. Inside this My Directory, there is a few things that happen if you are a Crown Council member. You can sign in. You can see my little picture right there. And everybody's directory looks just a little different. But inside the Premium Member Hub, you will see a library. Our content library is hosted here. All of the things that you and your team can be using to build a culture of success online. Every week, we update our skill of the week. Every month, our mentor of the month. Powerful team meetings are also updated every month. And then our expert webinars one a month. So you have access to all of these things, as well as one of the most requested items that happen time and time again, which is how do I search where other Crown Council members are? So find a Crown Council community member. It's right here. Entering the zip code is usually the best way to do that. So if I can just go back, you can see it right here. Search for community members. That's a huge part of it. So I wanted to go back just one step. We're about to interview Alan Tuig. I just finished an interview with him that I'm going to play for you, where he talks about recruiting and onboarding new dental team members. And it is a huge part of creating a culture of success is the system you have when bringing on a new member. So if you scroll down and you are a Crown Council member, you will see here our new member training hub. And if you click on this, this is something that we've developed over the last 30 years, that if you are bringing on a new team member and you say to yourselves, what are the most important things that we want this new team member to know about our culture? And we have created this about being the right kind of person and then doing the right kind of things as part of the culture in your practice. So this is very easy. You can see here, I've completed 5 of the 13 lessons. When your team member goes through them, they get these little check marks when they watch the video. And you can work through all of them and then reward your new team member when they finish. This is just a fun tool available to you, the Crown Council's new team member training course. So very good. All right, I'm going to back up just a little bit and I am just going to highlight one other thing, which is our Crown Council annual event. We are looking forward to being with everybody at our annual gathering, January 29th through 31st. This is the time to sign up. This is when you should be preparing to be with us. We have all of our speakers picked, chosen. This is our little lineup right here. Very fun. You can read about these speakers and presenters, but the content that you will walk away from at the annual event is an incredible action plan as soon as you're back in the office on Monday. And Steve Anderson is a huge part of that. After every speaker, Ryan Campbell will get up, he'll speak, he'll talk about what is your pink Cadillac, you finding a transformative tool in an unexpected place. The content that he shares is so fun and so easy to apply. But then Steve will get up for about 20 or 30 minutes and help you apply it to your practice, to your team, so you can go home and have actionable items as soon as you're back in the practice to take from these presenters and speakers. That's just one thing. So much is being planned and prepared. We've kind of beefed up this little uh, calendar here. You can work through everything that's available, all the schedule, and what your team will experience by being part of the Crown Council annual event. We also have shared some really fun videos, different reasons, different testimonies. At our last annual event, we interviewed a lot of our new members and members who are at the annual event about why they come, about building their team, motivating their team, creating an office culture, starting the year right. Our hope is that every Crown Council office joins us at this annual gathering. So please be with us. CrownCouncil.com will get all the information for you for joining us at the annual event. All right, that's it. I'm going to roll right into this interview with Alan Tuig. That's going to be our content for this week's live stream. So please enjoy this interview with Alan. And when it's finished, we'll see you next time on Crown Council Live. We're grateful to have you join us today. And thanks so much, everybody. All right, hey everybody, welcome to our live stream broadcast. We have Alan with us. Alan, a familiar face. Grateful you join us again.
Yes, thank you. Always a pleasure. Happy to be here.
Hey, we've got a bit of a series here that we discussed and that we're putting together. A lot of fun content, educational tools. I mean, you just know a lot, so it's fun to hear from you, to have you teach us. I always learn a lot, so we're grateful to have you back with us today. The old broadcasts that we've done together, so the old content that you've shared, is on your resource partner page, along with you're one of the only resource partners that continues to share every month awesome content that you're producing on your own, which is really fun to share with Crown Council members. Do you have your own little podcast channel, or how do you distribute your content?
Yeah, we have a few things. So thank you for that. That's great to hear. And yeah, we're all about just getting this educational info out there because, of course, nobody gets any training on this in dental school or managers or any of that. So yeah, we have our own podcast. It's called the Dental HR Podcast. And we've
Okay.
been doing that for about a year and a half. It's been really fun and really successful. And then we also have our own newsletter, and folks can subscribe to that for free. Don't have to be a client. And there's info about that on our website as well.
Very cool. All right, so Ben Erickson and Associates, they are our HR employment compliance specialists. Alan is here to teach us everything when it comes to, I mean, we've talked about everything from keeping new team members, where to find new team members, and once they join, how we keep them. What are we going to talk? What are we going to talk about today? What's our what are we in for?
Yeah, today we're talking about recruiting, hiring, and onboarding. And of
Nice.
course, those are three very big topics. I mean, I just did a whole 2 hour session at ADOM just on onboarding. But for today, we're just going to share some of the pearls, just some
Okay.
of the real quick little bite-size best wisdoms to know. And yeah, we'll just cover a few different things. It'll be great.
Okay. I mean, we just turned the time over to you. Normally I would like ask questions, but because I don't know anything about what you're going to talk about, you just take the reins. I think you can share your screen and
All
I
right.
gotta make sure we're recording. Okay, we are. Yeah. All right. You
Yeah.
do it. All right,
All
Alan.
right, let's do it. Here we
Hey,
go. Yeah, I will dive
looks
in.
good. Okay.
And yeah, again, so today, these are big topics. So this is just going to be kind of a few little quick tips. And as always, people can definitely reach out to us. We're approachable, we're not going to bite. But if you have questions about any of these topics, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Or if you're
Okay.
dealing with some kind of tricky labor situation or whatever it might be. So let me dive in here. So I've shared this slide on previous ones, and so this is kind of like the world of HR, sort of a five-step high level view. And so today we're talking about recruiting, hiring, and onboarding. Last time we talked about compliance. And so now it's about, okay, if we've laid foundational pieces and we've got our culture, we've got our compliance, we're got our ducks in a row, now we can bring people into our office. And so it's all about kind of how do we do that and make it successful. So here's a little context, just kind of how I think about the world that we're in right now. So we are in, without a doubt, nobody will disagree with this, the absolute tightest labor market there has ever been in dentistry. And there
Right.
is just an absolute lack of supply. That's the issue. It's not anyone listening, it's not your fault. It's not that you're a bad office or anything like that. It is truly just that there is a lack of people out there. And unfortunately, the forecasts right now are not looking good. So ADA, Bureau of Labor Statistics, others have been forecasting this, and especially with hygienist and assistant positions, the problem may actually get worse before it gets better, which is a frightening thought. In addition to that, of course, there's also pressure from DSOs and DSOs wanting to take top talent away from private practice. The
Mm,
expectations that patients have, of course, are much higher. Patients,
mm,
don't want to see a revolving door. They want, everything to be modern and up to date and, clear communication and so on. All
yeah.
of that means that employee retention is absolutely critical right now because our HR systems, of course, drive all of the other practice systems. And
Yeah.
again, if we have that revolving door, it impacts patient care, it impacts everything that we're trying to do, all of those big goals that we want to achieve in our practice, whether it's fee for service or it's certain technologies or whatever it might be. We need a good team for that. And so that also means that when we're doing our recruiting and hiring, we need to make sure that we get a perfect person, a really good, solid fit right from the beginning, so that we're not right back where we started 3 months or 6 months later, having to go back out into this crazy labor market and try to find another person. All right. So these are the 8 steps in the recruiting, hiring, and onboarding process. I'm going to skip defining the job a little bit because that's more or less kind of just why are we hiring? Who are we hiring for?
Okay.
I am going to show this real quick. Folks can take a picture of this. This is sort of like Gallup and others have found this as to be sort of like the 12 things that people really want. People say, well, what do employees want? Do they want this? And you'll notice that on here, it's not, I want the highest wage possible, or I want all of the benefits. It's just about a number of basic HR, human to human fundamental things. And you'll notice that a lot of this stuff is not real big or real over the top. But think of this as a little homework assignment, snap a picture of it, and go down this list when you have a little bit more time and
Okay.
look at where maybe you feel like your practice stands on that.
Mm,
I'm a big fan of Zig Ziglar quotes, total character, but just this idea that remembering that you're not building the business, you're building people. Those people are then who are building your practice. And so that's what a lot of the recruiting, hiring, and onboarding is about, and then also about ongoing performance management. All right, so let's talk about recruiting.
okay.
The wisdom here with recruiting is that recruiting ultimately is a process where you need to be trying absolutely everything that you can. So people say, well, should I do Indeed? Should I do Dental Post? Should I do Craigslist? I mean, you want to do absolutely everything that you possibly can and figure out what works best in your area. So, for example, I was recently talking to someone who works with Dental Post, and Dental Post apparently right now is mostly in the South and the southern states of the US. So if you're in the Northeast, if you're on the West Coast, Dental Post may not be the best for you, at least right now. Some people have really great success with Indeed, some people don't. And it's also important to recognize that this changes over time. So just because one route is not very good right now doesn't mean it's not worth trying 6 months from now or a year from now. So just keep that in mind. Just try absolutely everything with your job postings. And just recognize too, of course, that it's a supply issue, right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the reason for this. So that's why you want to get out there in front of everyone that you possibly can. All right, next step in this is screening. So screening is kind of that resume review, potentially phone screening. And at this stage, the wisdom is that view it as a process of elimination. So if you get a bunch of resumes, don't go through it with the eye of, I need to find the perfect one here within this. Think of it just as you open one, Are they qualified? Do they seem like a fit? No, eliminate it. Just it's a process of elimination and just churn those people out. I saw this, I threw this in there just because it's kind of funny. We are seeing a lot more people using ChatGPT and other AI systems to enhance resumes, write cover letters, and so on. Sometimes it's pretty easy to spot, and it's honestly kind of
Yeah,
sad, especially
it
with
is.
even something as simple as a cover letter, which is not that hard. But yeah, the AI systems out there, some of them are time saving, some of them are not. LinkedIn or not LinkedIn, Indeed system. Honestly, I don't like it that much. It's kind of a pain. And, people come through who are not qualified, who were
Mm.
supposed to get filtered out, and vice versa. So, again, it's just this idea of trying everything. All right, let's talk about interviewing. The big wisdom that I have for you with interviewing is what's called behavioral based questions. There are a variety of different types of questions you ask in an interview. You can
Okay.
ask about someone's experience, you can ask about their credentials. Behavioral based questions are a little different. The theory behind this is that someone's past behavior is a really good indicator of their future behavior. So if they have
Mm.
behaved this way for their entire career or in previous specific situations, and they are placed in those specific situations again, they will most likely react in that same way. So, here are a couple examples. So, describe a time when you experienced conflict with a coworker and how did you resolve it? So, that's a great question that is designed to have them come up with an example, a specific example, not just in general, oh, I'm a nice person, I never have conflict. You want a
Right.
specific example. What did they do? How did they handle it? And so on. And the ending part of the second example, where it says, who at the previous office can I contact to verify? That's kind of a little bonus step you can throw in there that just sort of kind of gives a little bit more accountability to it. And it gives you a chance if you feel like maybe this person was not being totally honest, or down the
Mm.
road when you do your reference checking, you can say, hey, this person said that one time a patient did da da da, and, did that actually happen? So, behavioral based questions, really good, really powerful. Highly recommend stirring those in. Ideally, I think behavioral based questions should be at least 50 or 60% of all the questions that you ask in an interview, because ultimately that's what you're hiring for, is you want someone who has that type of behavior in those situations, because in general you can't teach this kind of stuff. You can teach someone how to do billing, you can teach someone how to answer the phone, but it's difficult to teach someone how to behave in all these different types of situations. So that's the tip on that one. Okay. Next one is job matching and selection tools. This is one that doesn't get used as often, not as common, but it's really beneficial and really helpful. The wisdom here is a particular assessment called the Drake P3. This is
Okay.
one that we highly recommend. There's some info on our website about it if you want to check it out.
Okay.
Um, the Drake is a personality and assessment tool, or personality and communication tool. It's kind of like DISC, but more like DISC on steroids. It
Okay.
gives a lot of great info about personality, how someone is flexing in their role. It gives info about motivators, demotivators, leadership style, emotional intelligence. And the Drake has some really neat job matching tools built in. So let's say you're hiring for a hygienist, they can take the Drake. We can then compare the Drake with a composite of ideal characteristics for a hygienist or a dental assistant or whatever it might be. And you can kind of see where this person lines up and where they don't line up. And it's not always that you would deny employment because of the results. You could, because the Drake is validated by the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, the EOC. It is validated. You can make hiring decisions with it. That's something that you can't do with DISC. But more so, it's just that it's about knowing what you're getting into. Does this person really have the right skill set to be in the right seat? And that's
Right.
one of the big things that we want to avoid in the hiring process, is getting someone in who's maybe a great person, great experience, great attitude, but we're hiring them for a position that they are just not suited for. And so this is where something like the Drake P3 can be really beneficial and really avoid some of those scenarios. Example that came up recently was a office that hired someone to work as the main front desk person, greeting patients, checking them in and out, and the person was terrible at it. They weren't happy. The coworkers were just driving them nuts, and the patients were not having good experiences either. It turned out that this person just didn't want to be social. They were someone who wanted to be in a cave in the back doing billing and spreadsheets and all of that kind of data entry stuff. They did a swap and moved them back there, and it was wonderful.
Huh.
So it's just this idea again of, assessing out,
Right.
right person, right seat on the bus.
Right.
All right. Another tool in the toolbox is a skills assessment. People also
Okay.
use the term working interview, but those are two completely different things. So working interviews and skills assessments are two different things. We could easily talk for 45 minutes just about this, but the key thing to keep in mind is that working interviews, as the name implies, they are work. So the idea with a working interview is the person is doing actual productive work on your patients. If they are doing real work, they have to be paid. You cannot have someone do a working interview for free. You can't pay them in gift cards. You can't pay them as a 1099 contractor.
Okay.
They are working as an employee for that day. Now, it's still part of the interview process, and you're not officially hiring them, but the government does not allow somebody to, in a sense, volunteer their time doing productive work for a for-profit business. And that's what the biggest mistake most people make is they do a work and interview. They're having this person work on actual patients who are paying the practice and so on, and they just don't pay them. And that is not allowed. So there are a bunch of specific rules. Skills assessment, you can think of a skills assessment as basically just role playing. So they're not working on patients. Maybe they're working on another employee or on the doctor or the manager, but it's basically just role playing. So, they're answering the phone, or, the doctor is in the chair and they're showing their skills or something with that.
Hmm.
Skills assessment, you don't have to pay them because they're not working on actual patients. But skills assessments generally are only 1 to 2 hours. There are lots of pros and cons with each. I'm not here to say that you absolutely have to do one or the other, but you just need to recognize that with working interviews, there are some risks in terms of you have to pay them, you got to put them on payroll. They can try to file for unemployment. They shouldn't get it, but they can file for it because technically they did work for you for a day. Um, and highly recommend if you do this in either case, make sure you have the person sign a form that basically says, this is part of the hiring process. So even though I'm coming in, even though I'm doing a working interview, even though I'm being paid, I am not hired. This is part of the interview process. If you're a Ben Erickson client, you've got access to those. They're in the HR director system and so on. So highly recommend that. And the bottom line is just be really careful. If you have questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Okay.
All right, next piece with this is reference checking and background checking. This is so critical important.
Hmm.
I can't stress this enough. There are so few practices that actually do this, and this is one of those primary reasons why so many doctors get embezzled from, because they are just not doing this stuff.
Okay.
So background checks, the way you want to be doing this, first of all, make sure you are using an authorized and reputable company. Company that I have the most experience with is called DataQuest. Their system is wonderful. It's all online e-signature. It's very fast. It's very affordable. You can customize exactly what you have checked and so on. But you've got to use an authorized and reputable company. If you just go to Google and type background check companies, you will get 20 million different companies that do it. And a whole bunch of them have shady, business practices. They may not be actually licensed to do this kind of work.
Okay.
They may not be actually checking all of the city and county and state and federal databases that they should be checking. So make
Okay.
sure you're using an authorized and reputable company.
Okay.
You have to get a signed release. You cannot just randomly do a background check on whoever you want. And the signed release will come from that reputable company. In the case of DataQuest, all you have to do is give them the applicant's name and email. They send out the forms and they handle all of the release forms and so on, because individual states have individual requirements for that. Highly recommend doing the criminal record search. That is absolutely critical if this person has ever been convicted of drug use crimes or something related to embezzlement or theft or something like that. Social Security verification is another important one to prevent hiring someone who is falsifying their identity. If this person is in a licensed position, definitely do a license verification. And you can do a driving record, but that would only be if this person is going to actually be driving for this position. So do not do a driving record on every single person, only if the person will actually be driving around, maybe going to referral offices or something like that. And then credit checks, people always want to do credit checks because there's this assumption that if someone has bad credit or if they've had bankruptcies, the assumption is they're going to steal from you. That is not the case. There have been numerous studies of this. There is absolutely no real correlation or causation between those two, none at all. And the rules around credit checks are very strict. You cannot do a credit check on every single person that you want. You can only do a credit check on someone who is really, truly having actual authority to control money in your practice. Just accepting cash or credit cards from your patients, that does not qualify to needing a credit check. We're talking about maybe a real high-level manager that has bank account access or signing privileges on the checking account. That is someone where we can do a credit check, but just regular front office employees doing insurance billing and so on, you can't do a credit check on them.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to reference checking, so this is where you are calling former employers. It really shouldn't be called reference checking. It should be
Okay.
calling past employers, because if they list their buddy Joe, who, is a really nice guy and is going to say nice things about them, we don't care about that.
Okay.
What we want to know is we want to know what will their former employers say about them.
Yeah.
One of the tricks you can do with this, and again, if you're a Ben Erickson client, you've got one of these. It's a release to provide references. So the idea would be that the applicant signs this, and then when you reach out to a former employer, you give them this piece of paper, and it basically it's designed to allow them to give you a more full and complete picture of what this person's employment was like. Oftentimes you get stonewalled and they just say, well, I'll just tell you the dates of employment, or I'll just tell you what the position was. And that's just because people try to protect themselves from, some sort of libel or slander or some sort of claim around that. But if you get one of these authorizations signed by the applicant, that can help, and it can help open people up. Another little trick that you can do is you can tell this person, when you get them on the phone, you can say, hey, so and so said that they worked for you and that they were a really great employee and they never had any problems, and that they,
Mm-hmm.
resigned in good standing and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Because oftentimes, if this person was none of those things, the person you're talking to is going to be like, what? They told you
They
what?
didn't say.
Oh, heck no, that's not true at all. And so
Oh
sometimes that can kind
no.
of open
Okay.
people up a little bit.
Okay.
Definitely treat any information that you get from those former employers and those references in a very confidential manner. Do not share that with the applicant. Don't share that with other employees. Keep that really confidential. All right, let's talk about onboarding. So, onboarding again is one of these big, broad, lengthy things. I'm just going to share a few just real quick rapid fire tips and tricks around onboarding. Again, we could easily talk for hours about this one. So, couple stats: 70% of new hires decide within just the first month if the job is the right fit.
Mm.
So sometimes when we're hiring and onboarding, it's because we're short staffed, we're tired, everyone's exhausted. We get the person in the door, we get through the whole recruiting process, which is sometimes a long, painful process. And we sometimes think, okay, cool, we got this person hired, we got plenty of time to onboard them. Let's just throw them in, let them figure it out on their own, on the job training and all that. But you've got to focus on this, especially in the first month, because it's a really, really important time, not a time to skip. All right. Also, companies with a formal onboarding process experience a 50% higher new hire retention. So again, most dental practices do not have any sort of onboarding system or program. So if you have even just a little bit of the things that I will mention today, that automatically puts you way ahead of the game.
Nice.
So the first piece, when we think about even just the very first day or the first couple of days, really plan intentional moments. The first day and the first impressions, it should feel like a first date. We're really putting in time and energy and effort and thought into making it something meaningful and something special. We don't want the first day to feel like pajamas and Netflix and leftover pizza.
Right.
Like it
Right.
really should be a special thing. So
Uh,
here are just a few ideas. Again, folks can take a picture of this,
okay.
implement it, and go through it from there. All right. Some things around the first 3 days. So you definitely want someone to read the policy manual and read their job description. Obviously important. You don't have to have them read the manual on the first day, though. That's something that you can definitely space out day 2, day 3.
Right.
We also don't want to bore the heck out of somebody. We also obviously need to new hire paperwork. Again, that's something you can space out with a couple exceptions. Make sure you do payroll information on day 1. The reason for that is maybe this person is a total nightmare and you have to fire them at the end of day 1. And the other thing is maybe they leave on day 1 and you never see them ever again. So make sure you're getting the payroll information on day 1. The I-9 has to be done by the 3rd day. Hopefully everyone knows what an I-9 is and you're all doing it. And then all the other paperwork, again, you can stir in somewhere in there. Really important to emphasize your practice vision, history, mission, philosophy, all of those kinds of things. SHRM, the Society of Human Resource Management, did a study on this. They found that over 80% of employees really need and want to hear about the practice's mission and values and so on. So it is really important, especially with younger generations. People really want to see that. And then orientation and onboarding are two completely different things. Orientation is just those basic logistics. Where's the bathroom? Where's their desk? Where's the break room? That's orientation. That is not onboarding. You do need to do orientation, obviously, because people do need to know those things. But just know that onboarding is not orientation, two totally different things.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about the first month. So in the first month, highly recommend establishing some milestones. So what exactly do you want this person to be doing and by when? What level of independence are you expecting? And as much as you can, try to build in some easy ones, some little easy tasks, little projects, little things that are easy, but you put it down as a milestone because it starts to build some positivity. It starts to build these little wins, these little micro joys, micro positivities that then will start to build and create kind of a positive feedback loop. Number 2, they're cross-pollinate. So that's just this idea of if you're a bigger office and you've got your different departments, have this person sit in on meetings. If they're admin, have them sit in on clinical meetings and vice versa. You don't need to have them sit in on everything, but just get some cross-pollination there. You want to build this idea that it's about a bigger picture. It's not just about them and their day-to-day tasks. This is about a bigger, sort of the overall mission of the entire practice, if you will. Number 3, cultural onboarding. Oh my gosh, so important. This one is all about how we do what we do and why we do it that way. So it's a little bit around values and mission and so on, but it's a little bit more granular than that. And it's so important. Because you have to remember that every practice out there at a real high level has the same values, right? Every practice wants outstanding patient care. Every practice wants to make
Right.
dentistry affordable. Everyone's got the same sort of things, but every practice is different in terms of how they actually achieve those things. And you need to make sure that you're onboarding people with that. And there have been issues in the past where team members come in, they're not onboarded into the culture. They bring what they think it should be as far as handling things like, what if a patient shows up late? What if a patient, shows up at the wrong location? What if, all of those kinds of things? How do we handle that stuff?
Right.
Very important. And then one-on-one check-ins, that's kind of a no-brainer. That's got to be going on all the time with everyone. Doesn't have to be super formal. You can make it formal if you want with, a new hire performance review form and so on. But again, just check-ins. How's it going? What's working? What's not working? Do you have everything you need? All of those kinds of things, super important with that. And it's worth remembering this quote by Maya Angelou. I know everyone's heard this before, that people will forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel. You have to
Mm.
remember that the first month of employment is an absolute fire hose. I mean, we are just bombarding people with so much information. They're also just absorbing all of those, subtle things around culture and patience and everything. And they are not going to remember every single detail. And that's okay. It's normal. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. But you just have to remember that what they absolutely will remember is how you made them feel. Did you make them feel welcome, special, supported? Did you make them feel like you are compassionate and you care about them? That's what they will remember. And again, way back earlier, we talked about that 70% of new hires decide in the first month whether they're going to stick around. So really keep in mind how you're making them feel. All right,
Yeah.
months
Okay.
1 through 3. So number one, the danger zone. This is where I
Highway
call the danger zone.
to the danger
Every single
zone.
time. Kenny Loggins. Yep.
Yeah.
Got to bring that up. Top Gun. So, the danger zone, this is where we're starting to back off our job shadowing. We're backing off our
Mm.
hands on training. The person is starting to work more independently. And it's the danger zone because, yeah, they've been here and, yeah, they've got some experience and they've been here for a month or so, but they still don't know everything. There is no way we have onboarded and downloaded every single thing this person needs to know about our culture and our patients and our systems and all of that. So we need to make sure that we're being mindful of that, being careful of that. You want to circle back on topics that you covered in the first few weeks. And you also want to, really be aware of the fact that this person may start to make some mistakes in this timeline. And that's why I just call it the danger zone. You can do the new employee performance review. You can get as formal or informal with that as you want. You can do a check in at 4 weeks, a check in at 11 weeks. Again, the idea with this, like any performance review, is that you're listing out everything that's going well and everything that's not going well. If you sugarcoat it and you only list the positive, then you're kind of not really setting this person up for success. And if you only focus on the negative, then of course you may start to build sort of a negative feedback loop. It's worth remembering, of course, the old adage of hire slow, fire fast, and just keeping that in mind. If this person is not working out, you need to really think about getting them out as soon as possible. If you've tried everything, this is again a little bit of introspection thing where you want to say, okay, did we rush the hiring process? Did we rush the onboarding? Did we throw this person into something they weren't ready for? Maybe we weren't very clear in our expectations. So there's a little bit of that introspection that you want to do. But if you come to the conclusion, this is not the right fit, not as experienced as we thought, whatever it might be, you want to do your documentation, assess your risk, and get them out of there. Don't wait too long for that. The building positivity thing. So I use the analogy of the bank of positivity or the bank of trust. Everyone starts out with essentially nothing in there, and it's our job as the leaders to put in some positive deposits in that bank account. It's inevitable that down the road we're going to have to make a withdrawal. We're going to have to, do something that maybe doesn't make this person happy. Maybe we can't give them the raise they want or something like that. We want to have built a bank of positivity by that point. And that's all about these things of little wins, it's appreciation, it's employee engagement, it's all of those wonderful things that you need to do. All right. And then, real quick, here's just a few quick things for months 3 through 6. Again, checking in on progress. Certainly survey them, see how their onboarding experience was. What feedback do they have for you, and incorporate that into your other stuff. Recognize they may need some growth and development. There may be some ongoing CE. Also, recognize this person may not want to grow. They may not want to, you know, continually progress. They may be happy where they're at, and maybe that works for you. There's a term called everboarding that some people use, and that's just recognizing that the onboarding process never actually stops. It's this idea that we will always be onboarding this person over time. And so, again, just the point of this is just recognizing that it's not you get to a point and you're done and it's all over. It will be a continuous process. So that's what I have for you guys today.
So good.
Crash course, recruiting, hiring, onboarding. And yeah, hopefully that was helpful.
You know, Alan, it's I had so many thoughts. We went so fast. It was so, I mean, there's so much stuff, even just like, recognizing like, I saw you listed having flowers when the new person arrives. I mean, things like that are so fun. And for the last 30 years, um, making this like a system, a thing, like this new hire comes to the office and, um, you're prepared. It's like, hey, we want you to. I mean, Crown Council's even created a 12-part series where you could show a new employee the 12 most important culture building skills that they believe. I mean, imagine arriving and being like, hey, here's our culture guide. This is what we do when a patient's mad, rather than just being like, hey, there's your desk, like good luck.
Right.
I love having a plan. There's nothing that shows a person that you care more than like having a plan, being prepared, and showing them that you're ready to take care of them. I mean, I use this example all the time. Can you imagine your kids coming down for Christmas morning or whatever and being like, "Well, we just didn't do. We thought about this yesterday. We didn't get anything prepared." Uh, and they'd be like, "Our parents hate us. This sucks. Like this is the worst." And I feel like sometimes that's the same thing with our jobs. It's like
Mhm.
you put no thought or time into this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hate working here,
Right.
Anyway, I love this.
Yeah.
This is so good. So
No,
good.
I agree. It's all really important, and I think it's one area where AI I think will prove to be very helpful in the
Uh,
creation of some of
yeah,
these materials, these SOPs, these, system things, just whether it's creating little videos, whether it's guides, documents. I think AI will help us create that stuff, more quickly. Because obviously every practice is different. All that kind of stuff has to be tailored. You can't get a template for culture or a template for,
right.
how we do everything here. And so I think that's an exciting thing that we'll see with AI is helping us with that, because the reality is that really good employees, which most employees are really good employees, most employees they really want to know what success looks like. They want to
Right.
have that roadmap because they want to do a good job, they want to show up on time, they want to provide for their families. The vast majority of workers fall in that category, and all of these things around, a good solid up-to-date employee handbook and job descriptions and culture and onboarding process and all of these things, that's what people want. And it shows that you're invested in them,
Yeah,
and they will reciprocate that back.
I agree. Very fun.
Yeah.
Alan, very good. I'll post this video. And grateful for you. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Happy to be here. Thank you again for having me back.
Thanks everybody for joining. And you can go to crowncouncil.com and in our resource partners section, search for Alan and Ben Erickson and connect with him. I'll include the links with this recording. And we're grateful for you, Alan. Thanks.
Yeah.